Hello. So I recently jumped into the playtest of Atomic Picnic, which is a game by Bitcake Studio. They are the developers, and the producers are actually Mad Mushroom, the game production studio created by Asmongold and OTK. Those people, if you are not familiar. Um, So I think this is actually the first game that they are openly producing. I don't know that for a fact. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if I am. But I think this is the first one. And the playtest is available now on Steam. Um, you can go and wishlist the game there. I think there's a website. I don't have a link. You could just apply for the playtest through Steam, and they'll email you back in a couple days or whatever. That's what happened with me. Um, so, how is the game? The game, it's in all honesty, it's pretty fun. It looks great. I really like the style, the aesthetic of the game. You can hear some ambient sounds going on in the background that is coming from the game. So it's got a nice ambiance. I think the graphical styling is really good. I really like stylized games, and I wish more companies would consider dialing back the realism in graphics because it tends to create much shorter, less appealing games. I'm looking at you, Starfield, um, as an example. I feel like a stylized aesthetic enables developers to build way more expansive environments and way more interesting gameplay rather than focusing so much on everything trying to look realistic. If I want real, I'll go outside. Okay, I'm playing a fucking video game. I'm here to have fun. I don't give a shit what it looks like. Okay, so this is great. And my PC, I'm actually on an old ass PC. I have a NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti, just barely on the border of being able to play Elden Ring, apparently, which I just installed and I'm going to play later, probably. But I'm not here to talk about that game. I'm here to talk about this game. So, it's obviously a playtest. It's going to have a bunch of stuff that's problematic and needs to be fixed, and that's kind of the point of me making this video. It's not so much as to advertise and talk about the game to people who aren't familiar. I actually want to leave feedback for the development team, um, you know, so that they can try to fix some of this stuff. So the first thing I noticed is that, like, if you see right now, my screen is scrolling over the menus and whatnot. I'm actually tabbed into OBS right now, and I'm just moving my mouse over stuff in OBS. I feel like this can be a little bit problematic if the game is still reading your inputs on your mouse, um, or whatever else while you're engaged in another tab. I could accidentally click on something or do some things while not intending to. So hopefully that's something they can iron out. Also, the game is advertised as not having controller support, although it's obviously in development. Playing the game itself with a controller feels great. I'm going to actually switch over to the tab now. So, controller in hand, I am able to, in this main menu, manipulate a little thing that I can clearly see and move around. But as you go into the games where like some of the menus, the functionality completely disappears. Like, I can't do nothing that I do in this menu does anything with the controller, other than hitting B to back out. Now, if I go to start a picnic here, you can see it kind of flashes as I'm clicking the stick on my controller, but you can't functionally see where the cursor is from the start, and that's obviously something that's going to need to be fixed. You know, full functionality of a controller in these menus will enable them to release this game on console more easily and stuff like that. So I think that over time, that's obviously something they're going to be working on because there is some level of functionality here. So it's obviously something that they're working on. And yeah, I would just like to see improvements, having the icon clearly visible, what I'm pointing at in this menu here would definitely help. So as you can see, I kind of highlighted the character and then I click A, I get in here. Now as I click around, you can see it's still functioning on the bottom. There is a way to get it to go up into this box somehow, to start moving it around in this box. But it's kind of an annoying process to try to figure out where the icon currently is within the system. Or the tab, whatever, the target for the controller stick. So it is definitely problematic and needs to be worked on. But yeah, I highly suggest, you know, if you are on PC, well, you're probably playing this on PC for the playtest. But yeah, just have your mouse available for selecting perks like in the match as well. In the actual picnics, when you're running around shooting, jumping with the controller, it feels great. But when you select your perks, when you level up, the functionality of that UI is horrible as well with the controller. So that needs to be worked on as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna select. I'm gonna select this guy, JD, because I like his green jacket. He's a cool looking dude. The actual weapons. Now I've tried every weapon and they all felt like dog shit to me. Now, it's important to note that this game does function like Vampire Survivors or Holocure in the sense that if I back out here, we go to upgrades. These are permanent upgrades, these mementos. So you are going to want to save up some of these crystals. You're going to be able to level up your mementos. These are going to give you more damage per rank. So your character starts out at a drastically nerfed state. So the game feels very difficult and the weapons and stuff feel very bad at the start. And that goes for all of them. The devices are not explained at all. Like, a loner's best friend, okay, what does that mean? You need to have some sort of an explanation of what these devices do before players go into the match. 'Cause I went in and I had to figure out through trial and error what they do. This first one is just an AoE explosion. So as you're running around hoarding enemies, you can throw this out. This will do an AoE explosion. It's not super powerful, but it's pretty powerful. It's not terrible. Definitely not the worst. Definitely not the best. Chamuska here, if I'm saying that correctly. This one is the best one by far. It creates a ring of fire. Then as the enemies are running at you, and they are all running at you, the enemies are constantly like swarming you. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. But this ends up working out really well because it leaves a ring of fire that you can lure the enemies through. Even some of the flying ones that are a little bit more annoying to deal with. You can kind of like shoot this up at a wall and create the ring of fire in the air and then just kind of run around underneath it, and the flying enemies will end up melting to that. This one is very good and useful. I think it's the best by far, and the others are complete trash, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played in a team. Maybe if there's like some kind of a team dynamic where each player, like, you can't have multiple of the same device or something, that would make sense. Because otherwise, I would suggest an entire team just using Chamuskas as well, because that Ring of Fire really is incredibly powerful. And then this one, Absolute Zero Chills. This one actually does explain what it does. This is the only one that explains what it does, but it's kind of dog shit. It shoots kind of like a grenade launcher, which this one does as well. You kind of have to get a little bit used to it, but it shoots kind of like a grenade launcher, and it can like bounce and like miss what you're trying to hit, or like go off an edge or something. And yeah, I don't know what kind of damage potential it has, but it probably not a lot since it's supposed to be a crowd control functionality. So again, the devices are a little bit weird. They're poorly explained, and I really think the only good one is the Chamuska. So I'm going to select that. And again, like I said, the weapons, because you do start out incredibly weak, like maybe my experience with the weapons has just been similarly bad because I'm just at the beginning stages of the game and I haven't upgraded my damage or found the right builds. But I think that is kind of problematic if you can get thrusted into scenarios where you are completely clueless about what builds or weapons are even good, or what perks are good for which weapons or bad for which weapons. Because I can definitely see a scenario where, like, there's a perk that turns your gun into, from like the normal firing method into like a minigun where you have to hold it to charge it up. That perk feels like trash, but maybe I just had it on the wrong type of gun, so I don't know. So I think if there's recommended perks for different weapons, they need to be the ones that like pop up when you get the option, when you level up or whatever. Rather than anything that could turn your match into a complete hellscape because you can't functionally do anything with whatever weapon you have. But yeah, so the assault rifle is probably standard that most people will start with. I'm just gonna switch to the grenade launcher just as something to show off something a little different. I think most people recommend the sniper. So yeah, we're gonna start a matchup. And keep in mind, my computer's kind of trash. If the I can't see what's gonna be captured by my PC. So if it looks bad, this is not indicative of the game. It's probably my computer. Okay, so some of these perks: increase your damage while you're low on health. That could be good. Increase your damage while you're at full health. This is bad because you might not always be at full health. Shock your enemy time every time you successfully fast reload your weapon. That is bad because I can't honestly even tell you how to fast reload your weapon. So as you can see there with that little burning ring of fire, again, I think that is the best thing because the enemies are constantly going to be aggressively pushing you. As you can see, like, and they spawn, sometimes they spawn behind you too. So as you can see, like, the grenade launcher is kind of difficult to use. This is something that's probably going to be more of a bossing type weapon. And I'm going to have to use my device to hard carry for a little bit. Bullets have a chance of ricocheting. This could be good with, like, automatic weapons. Liberates the hidden potential of your weapon, increasing its damage and fire rate. We're going to take that one. But yeah, some of these perks just don't really seem that transformative or interesting at the start. There's two that I really like. They're called one's the teddy bear. What the teddy bear does is I believe it puts like a protective ring around you that does constant damage. Well, not a protective ring, but like a damaging aura, some kind of a deal. Like, am I even going to be able to hit these guys with a grenade launcher? I don't even know. So yeah, see, like, the flying enemies can be annoying. And that was my device that just got wasted because I tried to hit them with it directly, which you kind of can't. So you can see there's things about this game that are like, it feels very bad unless you have certain perks or certain things available to you. And until you get those things, it just like feels horrible to play. Increase efficiency of your weapon, magazine size, and fire rate. My weapon kind of sucks right now, so why would I want that? Chance to shoot a volley of bullets. I guess we'll take that one. Yeah, once you get the hang of aiming the grenade launcher, that's actually not bad. And again, I am using a controller right now, so as I said, the game says it doesn't function with a controller, but it definitely seems that they're working on it. There is functionality there, and I look forward to seeing it improve. Yeah, as you can see, this device is just so good. You pull the enemies through it, and it just melts everything. But yeah, the teddy bear, and the blood bag. The blood bag makes it so you have a chance to heal after you kill every enemy. And obviously, as you level up that perk, the chance to heal goes up, or the amount healed goes up. So that can increase the, excuse me, getting over COVID. Increase your ability to last much longer and collect more experience and whatever, as you level that up. So yeah, blood bag and teddy bear, I think, are the best by far, and without them it just does not feel as good to play. So I wanted to talk about the mobility. Forward mobility in this game is kind of awkward, because like, as you can see, a lot of the enemies just kind of bum rush you. You're gonna do a lot more, it feels like you do a lot more sideways or backwards running than actual forward running. And the only time I'm like really going to invest in forward motion is when my health gets so low that, oh, well, here we go. Blood bag. My health gets so low that I need to actively seek out a heal to make sure I don't die, which you can do. There are little like healing stations. You can use the crystals that you're farming to level your mementos out in the main menu at these little stations. We'll go over there to that bus so I can show that off. So this is a good example. Like, the forward mobility is cool. You got this grappling hook thing to get around. It's you know, it's pretty fun. But the only time you're really doing it is when you're actively seeking out, like, these crystals or a heal, which I find to be kind of not fun gameplay when I'm supposed to be killing all of the enemies, you know? Like, I'm supposed to be killing this stuff, not running around focusing on, like, collecting stupid little crystals and shit. I hope that they change that so that more of the yellow crystals just drop off of enemies instead of just being littered around the map. Because, yeah, having to collect them to, like, level this stuff here, it just takes way too long. Like, I need 60 for a random upgrade, which means, like, okay, so I gotta run around, find one of these, destroy it. I guess I got stuff out of that. I don't even know. You know, like, this process, it's just, it's not good for what the gameplay is supposed to be. So I think they need to steer away from these stupid yellow crystals. Like, they can have them on the map as, like, an afterthought, like, they're there as extra, but I think more of the currency should drop from the actual enemies. But yeah, this corner of the map is my favorite. It's my favorite spot on the map by far, because it gives you a lot of flat plane to kind of just run around in a circle here and blow shit up. Another thing that I think is poorly explained or not explained at all is the functionality of your dodge / grappling hook. As you can see in the bottom right corner, there's a little number 2. You can actually hold 2 charges, and until you understand that, you may find yourself like, oh, how come I was able to do the thing twice, but not, you know, other times? Yeah, that's simply because they just do not explain to you that you get 2 charges of that. Some level of, like, a tutorial to explain the devices and the mobility, I think will go a long way in getting players into this game and get their skill level up to the point that it feels easier and better to play. Because, yeah, like, as you can see, just for off the rip, it can be very difficult without having the various upgrades from the mementos. You start off with very low health, your damage is very low, easy, like, even on the easy, like, what you would think are the starting level enemies. I am about to die. So as you can see, I am actively seeking out a heal, which I should see like a little green beam up in the air. I think that's that over there. So we're going to head over there. Yeah, the only time you're really using forward mobility is when you're seeking out crystals or the heal. And as you can see, once you get that teddy bear, it automatically breaks these crystals, and it makes doing that so much better. So I honestly think the blood bag and the teddy bear are really the only good perks, especially when you're first starting out. Oh shit, that's... Okay, yeah, that sucks. That's one of the bad things about the mobility in this game that I really don't like. It's just like some of the routes like you have to try to take to get to certain things, it just doesn't feel good at all. Like I had to use both boosts right there. The second one went really far, but the first one didn't go far at all, which is kind of weird. I don't know if maybe you just gotta hold it more. There you go. So yeah, getting up to this heal was kind of annoying. I think that they can make some improvements with the mobility for sure. But maybe it's just because of how fast-paced everything... I think... Excuse me. I think they need to slow down the enemies. Everything just rushes your face way too fast. And it makes it this weird, like, for me, I'm basically just running around trying to spam my device and waiting for the cooldown. And that's it. Just dodging red circles. And, yeah, just dodging the red circles, waiting for my device, hoarding the enemies up into a big ball, and then melting them all with the device. But that's how I've been playing every time. And when I do that, I'm not really using the weapons. So it's kind of an awkward thing, that, as like I said before, I don't know if this is just because I'm early game, I don't have my mementos leveled, I don't know which perks are recommended for which weapons, but there aren't that many perks really in the game yet. You know, I don't know how many more they intend to add. That's why, like, I personally kind of like the grenade launcher, because that, you know, at least while my device is down, I can try to throw out some AoE damage there. I am getting messed up here. Yeah, that trolls tag, terrible. Oh, and I died. I jumped right into that enemy. That's okay though. So you kind of get the gist of the game. It's very, it has the potential to be very fun and very addicting. The only problems that I really see is that, like, again, not starting with like the teddy bear and the blood bag just feels terrible for the first few levels. It's like, what am I really doing here? I'm just kind of spamming my device. The amount of crystals you get is not very good. Excuse me. Unless you're actively going out and farming the crystals, which means you're probably not focusing on really killing the enemies or collecting the experience from killing the enemies, because maybe you can run and gun, but you're probably going to leave a bunch of experience behind, which means you're not leveling up your perks in the match, which can potentially drag you down over time. So right off the rip, the game, it starts out very difficult, but if you understand why, you know, that the fact that you're supposed to be leveling this stuff over time, increase the amount of currency you get, decreases your cooldown, some more device spam, increase the pickup distance of the drops. You'll see a lot of the similar stuff from Vampire Survivors or Holocure, games like that. So obviously the potential addictive nature of just grinding this game to get your upgrades, to make yourself more powerful, so you can actually get through the picnics better than I just did. Um, but I will leave that up to the actual players. So some of my feedback, more compiled for the development team. I would obviously like to see better UI functionality with the controller. Um, the actual picnic with the playing within the actual picnic with the controller feels fine, other than like some of the mobility things, which could just be new player woes. I'm not as used to holding the A button to get that longer grapple, if that's even a thing, or if some spots the grapple just doesn't go as high as you think it might. I don't know if that's um, a me problem or the game problem. Better explanation of the devices would go a long way. A better explanation of the grappling hook, the like letting players know that there's two charges, will go a long way in having them understand their potential for traversing the map, or getting in and out of certain scenarios. Like why was I able to do this here, but I wasn't able to do that there? Until I realized that there was two charges, I was like, how come I can do this twice sometimes, but sometimes it's only once? And I saw another player give feedback about that on Steam. So obviously that's something that's not a very large hurdle for people to overcome naturally, but I think a small explanation or tutorial would go a long way in making more players confident just hitting the ground running, so to speak. But yeah, the devices, Astalo and Friaka, I think need to be upgraded a little bit. But again, maybe in a team scenario, you can functionally make the game only allow each player to have one type of the team to have one type of device of each. So maybe the whole team can't spam Chamuskas, because I just think like four players with Chamuska dropping that ring of fire on a boss will just absolutely melt it. Compared to this, which is just like it's like a cascade of explosions that do a pretty large amount of damage, but it can miss the enemies very easily, whereas just luring enemies through a big ring of fire is very easy. And crowd control, while yes, I feel like the enemies do bum rush you too fast, I think that is an overall game problem. I don't think that should simply be solved with the crowd control. I think the crowd control, in addition, would definitely help to a natural reduction in some of the enemy's speed or aggressiveness. It's just, you know, like as I explained while I was running around the game, it feels very weird when I'm supposed to be killing these enemies and they're all like spawning and chasing behind me, as opposed to like trying to maneuver in front of me to shoot at me or do other types of effects, or hindering my ability to run around the map. Like if I'm actively going to look for a heal station or crystals, I'm moving forward and I'm just ignoring the enemies for the most part, because they just get pulled up and stuck behind me. If I'm either doing that or I'm running backwards, sideways circles, hoarding all the enemies and trying to nuke them all down in one tiny little corner of the map. So I think this is a little bit awkward. You definitely need to find a fine balance where you're maybe traversing the map a little bit more, but not with the intention of finding the crystals, but maybe finding more groups of enemies that are localized to different spots or something. Because just having them all hoard you means that like 90% of the map is worthless. And once I get to the point where all my mementos are leveled and I don't really need yellow crystals, I'm probably not going to actively run around searching for yellow crystals. That means that the entire nature of the forward mobility in this game is tied to farming crystals and leveling your character so that eventually you can just stand in one spot and nuke everything down super fast. I think that's incredibly awkward. I'm not entirely sure how to balance that. My only idea is, like I said, maybe have localized groups of enemies to certain spots of the map. So it's like, oh, well, you got to kill 200 enemies, but instead of having all 200 rush you, there's like 25 over here, 25 over there, 50 over there, maybe 100 that rush you no matter where you are or something like that. Having a balance of enemies that do rush you versus don't. So I have to actively go to different spots of the map to find those enemies, and then maybe have some of the enemies drop the yellow crystals as well. So I'm not just running around looking for yellow crystals, I'm running around looking for enemies to kill and killing them, and I'm rewarded with yellow crystals. I do think the yellow crystals being on the map is fine to have them around for extra, but it is like having it one way or the other is awkward. In my opinion, just like you're either farming enemies or farming the crystals instead of doing like everything at once, which is what you kind of want to be doing to have more fun, in my opinion, playing this game. He's running around, killing stuff, collecting stuff, you're leveling up, and everything feels good. And on that note of feeling good, some of the perks, Blood Bag and Teddy Bear, as soon as you get them, feel great. They feel great. Having the chance to heal on kill goes a very long way. That instantly starts out good. Whereas something like an improved rate of fire and damage on a weapon doesn't immediately feel good. And then some of the perks like that Troll's Tag, as I said, that turns your gun into a minigun. I don't know which gun that is for, but I tried it on the assault rifle and the grenade launcher and a shotgun. I think I tried it on a couple weapons. I tried it on the sniper and the assault rifle, and it just felt like garbage. So, yeah, I think that maybe if there are certain perks that do go a very long way to make some of these weapons super outshine the devices or whatever other damage you can do, have them pop up as like recommended for your weapon or something. Like have like clear markers, like this is what you want. You picked a shotgun, you want this, and if you don't take this, you're gonna regret this, kind of a thing. Whereas right now it's like I'm pretty much just looking for Teddy Bear and Blood Bag and maybe the Doctor's Mask, because when I do get to low health, I'll do a lot more damage. Whereas the opposite of that is the more damage when you're at full health. If you're prone to getting hit, by the occasional AoE or mob or something, and, you're just not getting lucky with the Blood Bag procs, it's going to be easier to be at low health than high health. So it's like certain perks just really don't feel good enough, but maybe they can be buffed in a way it's like, or explained in such a way that, like, the damage buff you get from being low health is like 25%, whereas the damage buff you get for being at full health is 100%. It's like, oh, well, 100% damage bonus is great. I never want to lose that. I'm going to try to make sure I stay at full health by running around and farming crystals and buying some of those upgrades at the bus. But again, I think the idea of running around and farming crystals needs to be not removed, but not the focus. Like, I think you need to just be getting a lot more yellow crystals per kill. Like, the fact that I can kill 200 enemies and not get 200 yellow crystals, like, saddens me. You're going to be killing a lot of enemies. Even one yellow crystal per enemy will go a long way. And then, obviously, the bosses have the potential to drop more, I'm sure. The actual characters, they don't seem to matter other than just aesthetic. And I like that. That means you can pick any character and then build them any way you want. So this is ultimately just potential for fan service. Or if you're like me, you just want to be like a normal-ass dude. If you're a fucking weeb, you want to be some kind of anime girl, you could do that. I'm sure they'll have skins and all sorts of cool stuff to make your characters look neat, especially when you're playing in a team. So the game as a whole has a lot of potential to be very fun and addicting because of the roguelike nature. I just think they just need to improve some of the perks, and just some of the overall functionality of the UI, just like visual, like I said, some kind of visual markers or notifiers like that help players let's kind of learn and lean into builds, knowing which perks are better for which guns, which perks to avoid. Maybe reducing the rate that certain perks appear when you do choose certain weapons, so you don't like get screwed into being just a trash build, because that could be really annoying. Like, ultimately, you should be able to come in here knowing what build you want and get everything you want over time. You shouldn't be like cornholed into certain options where it's like I said, for me, the first thing I want to take is Teddy Bear, because like having that AoE to like destroy the crystals, and just do damage over time to the enemies that are constantly bombarding you. I feel naked without it, and I hate my life without it. That's one of the first things I want to get, and I want to lean into it as hard as possible, as fast as possible. And Blood Bag is another one. And if I don't get those for the first few levels, I'm just going to be disappointed. And what if I don't get them at all? I'm going to be even more disappointed, and it's just going to feel bad to play. And you don't want players feeling that the game is bad to play. You want them ultimately being able to have the most amount of fun that they can every time they play. So I really think that you need to make the priority of the perks that you get, or the variety, better. I don't know ultimately how to do that myself. Hopefully the overall amount of feedback that you get about the game helps you guys make the decisions to, like I said, tweak certain buffs and edit the UI to explain things, a little better in what they do. Because, currently there's a very steep learning curve in just knowing, like, what perks to use for different weapons, which devices do what. Again, just having two grapples or dodge things, like, you don't know that right off the rip until you notice it, and it does lend to some very confusing moments where you're like, oh, I just dodged twice, but this time you're like, I try to go over a gap and I don't have two charges. I just didn't realize, and then you fall all the way to the bottom of a canyon, and it's like, oh, now I gotta go climb all the way around up this thing to get back up there. That is kind of annoying. It's not the end of the world, but that's stuff that hopefully that they are able to get players more in line with and understanding. So like I said, I'm repeating myself a lot, but the video is probably kind of long, and I want to make sure I really iron out some of that feedback. But yeah, overall, I think the game's great. Mad Mushroom, hey, I wish you all the best in all the games you produce. Bitcake, I think you got a great game here. Keep up the good work. Again, the aesthetic, the sound, the ambience, it feels, it's fun. I honestly want to invest more time into playing this and leveling up my perks and figuring out what I can do with some of these weapons and builds and stuff. But yeah, I just think you just need to iron out the process a little bit to make it easier to understand without having to invest, a bunch of time into a playtest, which honestly isn't even probably going to be indicative of the final gameplay, because I know you're gonna change a lot about this game before it actually comes out. So yes, being front loaded with more information about what stuff does as opposed to having to figure it out for yourself would definitely lend to an easier time for playtesting. But in the final product, it might not really matter. So I don't really know. But again, great game, Bitcake, Mad Mushroom. Hey, I look forward to more of the games that you guys produce, and if I get a chance to play them and I got feedback, I will probably make more videos. So if anybody watched this, I appreciate you. Peace out. I'm gonna play some more of this off recording so I can get a little bit of a better experience out of my shit PC. But yeah, that's about it. Peace out.